Come here. So you think you're ready?
I'm here in Beverly Hills.
I just need you to.
It's the most glamorous place on earth. And I'm about to interview one of the most glamorous people on earth. She's an edgy sex symbol who sold 100 million albums and millions more concert and movie tickets.
Hi, Piers. I can't wait to meet you. I'm very excited. And that's Miss Jackson to you.
Janet Jackson, or Miss Jackson if you're nasty to her, never talks about her private life really, but tonight she's going to make an exception. She's told me I can ask her anything I like about her life in one of the most famous families in history. So it should be an amazing encounter. How are you? May I? Lovely to meet you. Janet, how are you?
I'm very giddy right now.
Giddy?
Yes.
Oh, it is exciting for you, I know.
It's good to see you.
Is it exciting? I mean, do you like doing interviews or do you hate them? How do you feel?
I'm not very keen about doing interviews.
Why not?
I'm not much of a talker. I mean, obviously I will if I have to, but I rather listen. I rather just stay very quiet and listen to what's going on.
And yet you've written this book, which is incredibly open. I mean, I was really surprised, knowing how private you normally are. As I read it, I was, wow, she's really been frank and honest here about some very private stuff.
Well, it's so funny that you say that, because a lot of people said the very same thing when I did the Velvet Rope album. But I've always written about my life experiences, and this is just another step, another level for me.
Reading your book, Janet, it seems to be two Janet Jacksons. There's the brilliant stage performer with all the confidence of a top performer, and then there's the quite shy, retiring young Janet who goes home, who's very different. Which one have I got today?
I don't know, maybe a little bit of both, I don't know.
But you are two people, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I think it's beyond two people. I think, I mentioned this on the Velvet Rope, really. I think we have several different characters that live within us. And it all depends upon who we're interacting with. That character comes out at that moment.
I mean, you've had this extraordinary life where, reading your book, you know, from the moment you were born into fame. You had no choice. You had to be famous because you were a Jackson and you were one of the youngest Jacksons. So you had no option here. If I could take you back and give you an option, so you're now 3 or 4 years old, and I hold the keys to that door to fame.
3 or 4?
Say you're 3 or 4, and
Okay.
you're right at the moment when you're about to start performing. And I could say to you, Janet, you don't have to go through that door. You can keep out of this. You can remain anonymous and be a normal person. Would you take that?
Well, there were two things that I wanted. When I was 5, 6, 7, and I was very serious about it, I wanted to be a horse racing jockey.
Did you really?
Yes. No, I'm serious. I started writing when I was 5. I wanted to be a horse racing jockey. Then when I was around 14 is when I got my first recording contract, at 14 actually. I didn't want to sing. I wanted to go to school and study business law, and I wanted to act.
But that's the feeling I get from the book, is that you were kind of, you had to go along with this. You had to be a singer because that's what the family did. It was the family business.
That's what my father wanted me to do. And, I mean, I'm very grateful, very thankful.
But do you regret the loss of your anonymity? I mean, you're now so ludicrously famous. What I was offering you really was a deal to not be famous.
But
if you had that power again not to be famous, would you prefer not to be, or do you quite like it?
I don't mind it. I mean, there are moments when I wish I could just crawl into a little shell and for no one to know who I am. But I can't say that I miss it, because I don't know what that's like. I mean, you can't miss something that you've never experienced. And granted, I've never... the reason why I say that is because when my brothers were famous, even though I hadn't been on camera, on screen, I got a lot of attention just from being the baby of the family and being a girl, a little girl. So I always got quite a bit of attention since I can remember.
Not being able to lead a normal life for most of the time that you exist must be difficult. Ordinary people can't understand that, really. They don't really understand the goldfish bowl that you in particular, as part of this family, have had to exist in.
You do live in some sort of a bubble, but it's normalcy for me. Like I said, my brothers were famous when I was 2 years old, to help you to kind of understand. So I moved to California when I was 2, and it was on from there. I've been very blessed, very fortunate, and it's made me who I am today. The good, the bad, the ugly.
There's not much ugly about you, Janet, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank you.
I tell you what I particularly like, this ring. Can we have a little look at this?
My ring?
Because I noticed, isn't it skull and crossbones?
Yeah.
Is this, what are they, the heads of interviewers who disappointed you over the years?
I told you. I've got a special finger for you.
I bet you have. Which one is it? Which one are you?
It's
that one.
I love skulls.
You love skulls?
Yeah.
It's a bit creepy, isn't it?
No.
Really?
I don't think so. I just think they're really cool looking.
Do you collect real ones, or?
No.
No? How many skull-like things do you have?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't.
This is fascinating.
No one's ever asked me before. This is my first time saying this.
So you've never revealed your skull addiction before?
Well, I don't know if it's an addiction. And it's no deeper meaning of this cult or whatever that. It's just something that I like. Just a little motif that I like, that's all. Nothing deeper.
Janet, one of the other major themes of the book is clearly your ongoing relationship with food. How would you best articulate it?
Love-hate relationship. It's been a tough road, a tough battle since I was very little, and not feeling worthy, self-esteem issues dealing with food, stemming from when I was very, very young, not feeling who I was good enough as I was.
The weird thing about having a sort of addictive problem to food, which is what you articulate in the book so well, is that unlike other addictions, you know, if it was drink or drugs or anything like that, you always have the power to give it up. You may remain an addict, but you can give it up. You can stop taking the drugs or the alcohol.
You don't need it to live.
Yeah, for food, the addiction is there every day, isn't it? There's no giving up. You have to eat food to live.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I'm not in denial in any way. I've never had someone say to me, "You're addicted to food," and maybe that's what it is for me. I've never had anyone say that to me, but the way that I feel about it, it definitely, and it still is an issue for me. But you know, figuring out where to place it, I was an emotional eater. I still am, and I've learned how to handle certain issues and not to run to that for comfort.
When I interviewed Oprah Winfrey for this show, she said the worst day professionally she'd have was when some movie she'd been involved with, the ratings came in and they were terrible. And she said she went and ate just a gargantuan amount of food that weekend.
She did the whole weekend?
She was laughing, like, it was just ridiculous. And she was laughing, but at the same time she said it made her even more unhappy.
It made her more depressed, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, how did it manifest itself with you? When you've gone through bad times and you were eating too much, what would you do?
It's binging.
Like what, though? I mean, let's have a bit of insight into the binging.
Whatever you like, whether it's fries, pizza, or I love caramel apples.
Oh, they're nice.
Yeah, aren't they good? I mean, I think everything you can have in moderation. To eat healthy is very important, but still, you can have those things in moderation. A little here, a little there. I still eat caramel apples.
Do you?
Yeah.
They're the nicest thing, aren't they?
I love it with nuts. I like them with the peanuts on the outside. Love them.
When we come back, the secret life of a superstar sex symbol.
There was a time when I was so down and felt so unattractive, and it lasted for a very, very long time, that I used to bang my head against the wall.
If your issues
trust me when I tell you this. No one else has shared my love. No one else has had your. Let it go for another day. Let me stop by saying that nothing.
When you were, I guess, reading the book, when you were at your worst in terms of the eating, and you began to hate yourself, you got depressed. I mean, what were you feeling at that time? What made you suddenly think, I've got to get a grip?
Oh gosh, that's been a few times. Just knowing what I was going through, looking at myself in the mirror, realizing that I'm not myself, or looking in the mirror and not really recognizing the person that I'm looking at. It's like, who is this person? You don't look like yourself. You look like someone completely, a totally different human being. You say, this has got to stop, this madness and being in this depression and yada, yada, yada. And it's been tough, but I've learned to deal with it. I've learned you know, how to deal with it.
How? What's the trick for people watching this who are going through a similar thing?
Well, it's just not about, okay, how do you stop the eating? It's deeper than that. There are issues behind it. Well, you have to figure out what's creating it first in order to figure out how to stop it. Because it's not just about someone going in the refrigerator and saying, okay, I want this, I want this. There's something behind that. And that's what you have to figure out, get a hold of. And once you deal with that, then it makes everything else a little easier, a lot easier.